Okay, welcome everybody. Triumph trunnions. Having to replace the left-handed trunnion on this Mark II Vitesse. Couldn't find too much about it online, so thought I'd make a quick video just to perhaps help someone else out. Why do we need to replace the trunnion? Well, this is the trunnion here at the bottom of the vertical link, and it does tend to wear, particularly at the top here. This is a threaded internal sort of reservoir for the vertical link to sort of fit in and screw onto. And if we have a look at the old unit here, I'm not sure how easy it is to see this, but you may well notice that the top threads are definitely showing signs of wear. They've almost worn through at the top, and that creates a distinct, if you can imagine that'll wobble about like that. As soon as the MOT tester gets his pry bar under the front wheel, gives it a bit of a lever, and you'll notice that there's some play excuse me. It normally shows up around about this rubber gaiter here, as though the whole unit is slightly wobbling. So this was an MOT advisory, so having to get that done, and it's all been sort of trial fitted now, so I won't take you through sort of step by step, but basically in terms of the tools and the parts, it is fairly straightforward. Tools, you'll need I think sort of 3 spanners and sockets, 1/2 inch, 9/16, 5/8. You can pretty much take the whole car apart with those tools. And you might also need, as I did, one of these. Yep, a junior hacksaw or equivalent, and that's really because the trunnion bolt, the bolt that holds the whole thing to the lower wishbone here, has a distinct habit of seizing up. And again, if we look at the old unit, this is the bolt going through. Had to hacksaw off both sides of that to free the old trunnion. Yeah, sort of 5-10 minutes of vigorous hacksawing will get you through that. And what the reason is, I think it seizes, the bolt seizes up. I can actually extract there. I don't know if you can see that too well, but there's an inner spacer or cylinder that carries the bolt through these kind of nylon top hat bushes, and basically the bolt will seize solid to that cylinder unless unless you're very lucky or use copious amounts of copper grease or whatever when you put it back together, and that therefore won't come out of the holes that it's got to come out of. So no amount of hammering was going to free that out. Decided to just cut it off and say 10-15 minutes of hacksawing and you're good to go again. So steps in terms of the assembly to get to here. So first we're taking the road wheel off, then we've got to take off the brake caliper. I've just tidied that away around the back here, sitting it on the road wheel. There's just 2 bolts securing the caliper there to a bracket, which has also since been removed. And then you've got to take the hub off, so no special tools for that. The hub's just bolted with one nut to the sort of stub axle here. There's a cover over that nut. This is the old one. I thought it was a rather curious and delightful shape, but clearly it's the evidence there of somebody having to hit it fairly hard with a block of wood or a hammer or something to remove that. And that's in fact what I did. I just drifted that off by hitting it sort of vaguely down and out. You are supposed to be able to insert a set screw or something through this hole, but obviously that wasn't going to work looking at the state of that hole. Here's the new top, the new cap. Always a decision really whether to go with new parts or refit the old. I quite like refitting the old where I can get away with it. Possibly not on this one, we'll see. Quite like the signs of life on that one though. Then there's a split pin underneath that, which basically holds if you can imagine the hub sitting here, there's a nut that goes on the end there, with a split pin through here, through one of the drilled holes on the stub axle. Perhaps a close up. So there's a few holes here. The nut will screw on, split pin goes through the nearest hole, etc. And then the hub will just pull off. And the reason you've got to get all of this off really is because there isn't enough play to, if you were to undo this bolt and pull this out, there's not enough play to turn and unscrew the trunnion itself, because it's fouled by the well, really it's the disc and the disc shield. Certainly true on a Mark II Vitesse. I have seen people say that they can bend the disc shield and take this off. That might just be true maybe on a Spitfire or a Herald, I'm not sure, but certainly there isn't the room or the play to do that. I know I wouldn't recommend it anyway. So you'll probably find that you have to take all of that off just to get to this point. Then we'll need to undo the two bolts. There's a bolt here on the lower wishbone which holds the shock absorber unit and damper here. Now I think Haynes recommends do not take that out completely. Excuse me, just getting cramped. But loosen it off, so that gives you a bit of wriggle room here on this end bolt, which will of course have to come out, in my case hacksawed out. Once that's slightly free, you should be able, and the bolts come out, assuming you've got lucky on that, or you've had to hacksaw it out. This then pulls out, trunnion unscrews, new seal goes on the top, trunnion screws up. Fill it up with some oil, gear oil, EP90. I forget what the new definition of that is, but gear oil is the thing to use on here. And then you have to assemble the rather curious seal arrangement. It's not really obvious here. I've only got the old parts, but there's each end of this seal is 4 parts. There's like see the condition of the old one here. There's one with a slightly smaller hole and one with a slightly bigger hole, and the bigger hole goes here next to the trunnion with this little flange facing out. Then you've got the top hat bush, which is still sitting inside the trunnion here. It's a black units. The replacement one was white. That goes on next. The spacer goes in the middle. There's a little rubber seal, which for the life of me I can't think does any good whatsoever, but that little rubber seal here fits around the outside of the nylon bush. And then finally the seal with the smaller hole goes with the flange facing towards the other flange, as it were, over the top, to sort of encapsulate everything inside there. And I think Haynes suggests that you grease the whole of that arrangement in there. So just to confuse, I'm not talking about grease in the reservoir for the threads. That's definitely got to be oil, but Haynes does mention greasing these bushes, because that obviously is a pivot point for the suspension, moving sort of like that in and out around that bolt and around those nylon bushes. So if you can imagine that sort of being held around there. not easy to do one hand, but that can pivot around that bolt to allow for any movement of the suspension. So yeah, a little curious arrangement, those dust shields, which I think is all they are. And then we're putting everything back. Obviously you'll need a new bolt, new nylock nut, and in the torques, I think when you're retorquing the damper bolt, the one at the back here, I think Haynes gives that as sort of 55 to 60 foot-pounds, but the Trunnion's only about 35, I think. Probably have to check that and put it on a note to the video. So yeah, once all that's going back together, tighten those, but don't fully tighten those until the suspension is, or until the car is all back together and sitting on the road wheels. So then last thing you do will be to tighten up both of those bolts to the correct torque. And also, if you've only sort of half filled the reservoir here with oil, and you haven't, like I did, have oil gushing out the top to show that that's full, always a good idea to put some oil in there again whilst the car's up off the road, so that you can get the correct and full amount of oil in the Trunnion. So that's probably about it. Apologies for whatever I've forgotten, probably quite a lot. Sorry it wasn't a step-by-step video, but they can get a bit tedious as well. So you've done well if you've got this far. Good luck with the job. Let me know what you think about the video, if it's been useful, if I've left anything out, or perhaps just a comment to say that you've had a look. So yeah, hopefully that's helped you with your small Triumph Trunnions, Vitesse, Herald, Spitfire, GT6. I think there's a similar arrangement on some of the TRs, but possibly that might help you a little on there, but obviously everything else is going to be specific to the small chassis Triumphs. So that's me signing off. Hope you found it interesting. Cheers for now.